Good evening, dignitaries, Toastmasters and guests. I am Toastmaster Sushma Anil Kumar, your Sergeant at Arms for today. I welcome you all to today's unique event organized by Division I. As we are meeting virtually in your homes, I hope you know where the nearest exit is. And I also hope you know where the nearest washrooms are. Please ensure all the mobile devices and other noise-producing devices are on silent mode. Let us remind ourselves of the Toastmasters International core values, which are integrity, respect, service, and excellence. The mission of Toastmasters Club is to provide mutually a supportive and positive learning environment in which every individual member has the opportunity to develop communication and leadership skills, which results in self-confidence and personal growth. The mission of the district is to build new clubs and support the clubs in achieving the excellence. In today's event, the champions are going to share their expertise and experience and energize the Toastmasters before the contest season kicks in. Contest is a most integral part of our Toastmasters journey. Many have become champions. Many are aspiring to be the champions. Today's event is an interaction between champions and the aspiring contestants. Let's start the wonderful session by introducing our Master of Ceremonies. She was born and brought up in Mumbai. Bahrain has been her home away from home for 18 years now. She is a past club president and past area director. She loves to write short stories and poems. Please welcome Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Maya Sharma.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sushma, and a warm good evening to all Toastmasters, friends and guests from whichever part of the world you all have joined and graced us. Let me tell that today's timer is Toastmaster Veronica, and she is a peppy and ebullient Toastmaster from Seedway Toastmasters Club in District 20. She has been the past Vice President Public Relations and is currently the Vice President membership in the club. Okay. Let me ask a question to all of you. Can you see this? This is an orange. The question is, what came first, the fruit or the color? Whoever wants to answer can unmute and answer. What came first, the fruit or the color?
Fruit, I think.
Fruit. Color. Fruit.
Okay. Any other answer than fruit and color?
Color.
Toastmaster Avnish wants to answer. Toastmaster Avnish.
Sun.
If you want to eat it, the
Seed.
orange comes first.
Beside color and fruit, it comes from the seed.
Okay. Okay.
But it grows into a flower first. Then there is a process. After that process, the bee does its process and it came to be a fruit.
Okay. Okay. Wow, some lovely answers I have heard and I am enriched by those answers. Now let me tell you what my research says. Orange was the name given to the tree that bore the fruit. And how old was this tree? Now this tree has been mentioned in the language Sanskrit as Naranga. And Sanskrit is a language which is more than 3,500 years old. So that means the orange tree existed more than 3,500 years old. And over a period of time, the name got transferred to the fruit itself. Well, the color orange came just about 200 years ago. So according to my research, it was the fruit that came first. Isn't this more or less similar to that question? What came first, the egg or the chicken? And in Toastmasters, who is fond of asking such questions? Anybody? Who is the most fond of asking such questions? The table topic master finds so much of delight in throwing such questions to the table topic contestants, leaving them confused, amused, and what not. Oh, I did mention about contests, isn't it? Well, the World Championship of Public Speaking concluded last month in August 2022. And today, we have the privilege of 2 podium finishers and a champion speaker from the same event to enlighten us all more about the forthcoming contests that are to happen in District 20. And our first speaker for the day is Toastmaster Angela Heath. She was the winner of 2022 Toastmasters virtual contest. After a gap of 15 years, during which she tended to her child suffering from cancer, she's once again back in Toastmasters since the last 2 years. She is a trainer for the Virtual Speaking Academy. And today we have her to enlighten us on before and after you take the virtual stage. The stage is all yours, Toastmaster Angela Heath.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be here with you today, my fellow Toastmasters and friends. First, I want to say the video speech competition, I want to explain it. I get so many questions about what is it? When does it happen? And those of you who might be interested in it, it happens at your club level. During the season, they will ask you to create a video speech. It's important to note, they do not advise us to use virtual backgrounds. We record our speeches at our clubs and they select the winner. The winner then goes on to Toastmasters International and they pare it down. I'm not really sure of the secret sauce. Someone said they think they start at the division level and then they go to the region. I don't know what the secret sauce is, but somehow Toastmasters International then selects the first, the second, and the third place winners. What I'd like to share with you today is not just preparing for that, but I love to incorporate some tips and some tools that you can use to prepare for all of your virtual speaking. Before I start, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many of you are engaged in virtual speaking outside of Toastmasters? If you could raise your hand. So it looks like for the people that we can see, they're probably about maybe 50%. So I'll include a little bit of that also as we go along. The first thing I want to do is begin our presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Angela Heath. I am with TKC Incorporated and the Online Presenters Club here in the USA, Maryland, to be exact. You can reach me at my email address. Now, what did I just do? This is more for both if you're in a video speech competition or if you're using it outside. What I demonstrated is a way for you to engage your audience at the beginning, to make it a little more lively, a little more interesting. Now, when you're in the contest, you're not going to use PowerPoint. but you can do something at the very beginning to engage. I'm using the PowerPoint to engage, which is something that you can do outside of Toastmasters. Here's the other thing that I did at the very beginning. And I'm going to show you, I think most of you, since you're advanced Toastmasters, know how to do this. But whenever I show people this, they're always amazed. So I'm showing you my screen. And when I'm sharing, you will notice here is the presentation slide show, and here is the PowerPoint. Too many of us are starting with the PowerPoint, then we have to figure out how to show the slide. No, we want to start with the slideshow. There's no interruption when we begin to present. So that's one of the tips that I can leave with you. Now, let's get to what do you do before you begin to speak, after you are speaking, and then at the end. These are the tips that I'd like to present for your consideration. Let's start with, what do you do when you are preparing? Now, this is beyond our speech crafting. We're going to do the same exact things we typically do with crafting a beautiful speech. But we want to understand the context of our presentation, crafting that message for a virtual stage, and then also what tools are we going to use? Let's talk about that. So your context, that's the basic who, what, when, where, how. You need to know all of that for simple reasons, so you can get there on time. You know who you're talking to. That will help you determine the level of information that you're presenting to your audience. And then there's some really silly basic things, but they're important things, like look at yourself in the mirror before you present, because you're on the virtual stage, and so you see me close up. If I've got some kind of spinach or something in my teeth, you're going to be focused on that. Also, another simple thing, get yourself something to drink first before it starts. Of course, before it starts, we're going to test all of our equipment, and don't test it the day before, because we all know how equipment is. That equipment could stop working the morning of. So test all of your equipment. You want to have backup equipment. So certainly, if you're doing the virtual presentation, you probably want to have some kind of lavalier mic as a backup. If you don't have that, that's okay. Just test it so you can even know how far back you can go in your presentation, because you want to be able to go far back enough so that you can use the whole width of the virtual stage for your movement. Now, doesn't that look better than seeing me like this? I call these lobster claws. We don't want to do that. So that's the context, getting ready before. The message. The important thing about your message on the virtual stage is that you don't have the ability to show everything you would in person. So of course, if someone is tall, you can't say that they're this tall, even though they may be a giant. So you've got to be able to center yourself. So in your message, your movement makes sense. The width, the height makes a lot of sense, right? So think about your message. Think about what could you incorporate that translates well in this virtual environment. Now, I love to do something called excite and delight the audience. You cannot do this in a contest, but in your personal virtual speaking, use all of these tools that you have in front of you. Use your polls, use your whiteboards, use all of those tools that you have in order to engage your audience. That is pretty simple, but still pretty important. So let's go on further. So we've talked about what are we going to do at the very beginning as we are preparing for the virtual stage. Now let's talk about while we're speaking. While we speak, we want to do something called camera love. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. We also want to maintain eye contact throughout the entire speech. And then, of course, we want to engage our audience. Now, by camera love, I really mean paying attention to the camera, loving the camera, embracing the camera. And you can do things like this. Up above, I have this little tool that I use that tells me keep my eye on the camera and smile. I also love my camera by doing something simple, having this little lens cleanser. Clean your lens, everybody. You would be surprised how many thumbprints you have on your camera lens. So let's clean that. So you're doing your cleaning, you're getting ready to present, and you're making that contact. So tell me, which one of these do you like best? I'm telling you a story about how I had to pull a donkey by the ears. And I do like this. I had to pull the donkey by the ears. That's A. Or I had to pull the donkey by the ears. Which one do you prefer? Put it in chat, A or B. Which did you prefer? These are little things, but these are things that will help you stay connected to your audience. I don't see one answer in chat, A or B. A, thank you. So A, these are things that you can do. Keep your eyes on that camera. Now, very quickly, because I see I am actually out of time. So when we finish our presentation, simple things. We want to focus on our leave behinds, smile, and then invite people to follow up with us. Our leave behinds, whatever you're leaving behind, announce it twice, put it in chat twice. If you do it ahead of time, they won't pay attention to you. So do it at the end. Smile. You don't know when that camera is going to stop looking at you. Smile all the way through, and then invite people to follow up with you. With that, I believe my time is up, and I do have a wonderful handout for you that I'll put in chat. It is virtual tips and tools that you will be able to use in your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Angela. Now is the time for the question and answer session with Toastmaster Angela. So if anyone has any question, you can raise your hand and we can go ahead. Or you can leave the question in the chat box. I shall ask the same to Toastmaster Angela.
Are there questions in chat? I don't think I saw any. Did I miss something?
So I think Toastmaster Girija has a question. She can be unmuted so that she can ask the question. Moderator. Yeah. Yes, you can go ahead, Toastmaster Girija.
Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. My question is, if when we are facing the audience and then we are enacting a conversation with someone who's standing next to us, am I looking at the person and talking, or am I looking at the camera and talking?
You know, people have different ideas about that. I try to keep my eyes on the camera. So if I'm talking about a conversation, I'm saying I'm talking to Uncle whoever, even if I start out this way, I'm always going to look back at my camera. And if I'm talking about Aunt Sally over here, I may start out looking at the camera, and then I might look at her and make a face. But when I make my face, I'm turning back to the camera. Because when we're looking away, we can kind of get an idea of what's happening in the conversation. But if you really want to emphasize it and you think Aunt Sally is gone loco, you know, even if you start there. Does that help?
Yes, you have answered my question very well. Thank you so much for the demonstration. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next question is by Mike McKillen. You can go ahead with your question.
Oh, hi there. Thanks.
Hi, Mike.
Got this cough as soon as I raised my hand, but I'm going to get through this. How would you compare this to your winning speech? If you had given it in a on a live stage? How do you modify it at all or adapt it? How much different is the live speech from the recorded speech?
Oh, it's so much different because, of course, if you have a live speech, you've got that whole speaking area. You know, I would have been walking. I might have, you know, depending on the speech, I might have gotten down on one knee or something. So the key to virtual is really understanding how do you maximize this little space. The best way that we can do it and still get our gestures across so that we don't have lobster hands is to try to get back a little bit. You don't want to go too far so that now people are saying they can't hear you if you don't have a lavalier mic, but you want to go far back enough so that you can really sort of get your gestures together so that people can see you. But the main thing in the virtual space is that little dot on your camera. That's the main thing. And so if I was in person, I would be making contact with my audience over here and my audience over there. But you're all right here. So I've got to keep my eye on the cameras to make contact with you.
Oh, thanks. How about subject matter, though? I mean, is it the same speech you would give on stage? I'm saying, are there certain types of subject matters that are more conducive to a virtual as on stage, or would you give the same?
My speech that I gave, I would give it on stage. I have given it on stage, but
Okay.
there probably are some speeches that lend themselves to on stage. Any kind of speech that you really want to show some movement, or you want to act something. Now, just imagine if the world champion who wanted to lay down on the floor, you can't do that in the virtual world.
Right.
So if you've got some topic like that where you want to act something out, sometimes it's better to do that in person.
Awesome. Thanks.
Master of ceremony, there is Toastmaster Asil raised her hand.
Yes. Toastmaster Asil, we can have one more question. Go ahead, Asil.
Okay, there is something I'm still working on. What do you do? Do you have any tips what you do if you suddenly middle of the speech, you forget a part of it, but you don't want to let the audience know because it'll make you look bad?
I don't worry about remembering the entire speech. People do this differently. I'm a person, I use bullet points. I actually use drawings, just like a story. So on the side of my computer, I might have 3 drawings to remind me of the 3 points that I want to make. If you're standing back here and you're looking at your little cheat sheet, your eyes are still fine, but you don't want to look over here, you know, at your cheat sheet. You want it to be right by your camera. The other thing I advise, always put your view on gallery mode in a virtual competition, because we have a tendency to look at ourselves and we don't want to look at ourselves. We want to look at the camera. So put a couple little cheat sheets up there, but just practice, practice, practice. Embody that speech so it gets inside of you and you will not forget it.
Thank you so much. Indeed, you are making me smile. I really enjoyed your speech. Please wish me the very best luck when I participate in the championship.
I wish you the very best. Thank you guys so much for having me. And I do have to apologize. I will have to leave a little early because I'm actually at a conference, a virtual conference. But thank you for inviting me.
Sure. So we shall be presenting the certificate of appreciation to Toastmaster Angela now. Wanted. Toastmaster Angela, please accept this certificate of appreciation from Division I in District 20. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Now, when I got to read this introduction, I was like, oh, this is what should be the epitome of consistency. Well, I'm talking about DTM Nisha Shivram, who has been a Toastmaster since 2007. She has been a district champion in the international speech contest 4 times in a row. She was placed second in the regional level of World Championship of Public Speaking in 2019. She was a semi-finalist in 2021, and she was a finalist in 2022. She is also the host of a weekly online talk series called Talksopedia. DTM Nisha, in her speech at WCPS, said, "Timber will come." And we in District 20 hoped that DTM Nisha will come to give us a few tips on how to be so consistent as she is. So it's over to DTM Nisha Shivram on consistency matters. The virtual stage is all yours, DTM Nisha.
Division I Director, officials from District 20, Division, area, club officials, members, guests, and my dear friends here. Good evening to each one of you. Now, I have been smiling a lot since the day Toastmaster Roshan told me that I have to be there in District 20 to share my experiences and talk about how consistency matters. Now, why District 20? Because District 20 is the place, and these are the people who have been watching me speak since day one. My very first District Toastmasters annual conference was in the year 2012 in Bahrain. I was right there with distinguished Toastmaster Shahbaz Ali, Toastmaster Rafiq, and so many other people who are right there watching me now. They have seen me falling down multiple times. They have seen me getting up, and they have seen me competing year after year. And I'm sure many of them might have thought that, wait, this lady, has she got nothing else to do? Every year she competes just to lose. But this year, when I won the semi-finals, I received messages from various districts, from my fellow contestants who had contested with me and who completely quit contesting. They sent me messages and they said, Nisha, when we look at you now, we feel that we shouldn't have stopped. We should have continued our journey as a contestant. And that gives me a great sense of achievement. Because if I have to tell you, I started my contesting journey in the year 2011. I was 31 then. Now I'm close to 43. And in this entire contesting journey, I became a mother of 2. And I had choices, I had excuses, I had reasons to quit, telling that I have a family to take care of, I can't go for contests, but no, I continued. And there are people who have seen me as the only pregnant contestant at DTAC. And there are many people who address me like that. Oh, that pregnant contestant. Yes, I was 7 months pregnant when I went for my evaluation speech contest in 2014 in Oman. Again, in 2016, I was pregnant again when I won the 3rd place at the District Toastmasters annual conference. 2015, I remember distinguished Toastmaster Muhammad Salim. I was standing with him. He was arranging the trophies. And I said, can I please check the 1st place trophy? And he looked at me and said, you have to earn it. It took me 8 long years to earn that district winner's trophy. I have failed more times than I have won. I won the district level contest 4 times in a row, but I failed 8 times. And when I say 8 times, these contests do not happen every month. It is annual contest. So every year for 8 long years, I lost every single time. And I remember I have lost to my dear friend, distinguished Toastmaster Rafiq, I think a couple of times. But what matters here is every time I lost, I made sure that I would try again, even harder. Because it was not about winning. It was about, I wanted to see that an ordinary girl from humble backgrounds, an Indian expatriate living in the Middle East, is it possible for a person like me to be there on the global stage? And that is what pushed me every single year. And if distinguished Toastmaster Rafiq would agree that we all started together, there were many contestants much better than us, better speakers, whom I had seen, admired, and I used to feel that when would I be like them? When would I start speaking like them? Unfortunately, they all stopped contesting. And I still remember in 2018, when I went to Kuwait, that was the last DTAC with District 20. We all were member of District 20. And when I went there, I met a fellow contestant whom I had competed with back in 2012. He looked at me, he laughed and said, "Nisha, you're still contesting?" I said, "Yes." And today I feel great because just because I refused to give up, I could reach the finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking and share the stage with some wonderful speakers like distinguished Toastmaster Alexon, Toastmaster Cyril. Now, this is for everybody who wants to take part in the speech contests, who have taken part in speech contests, who have lost. Let me tell you, there are a few things that you must remember. Number one, I have said this in my semi-final speech that there are certain noises that you must pay attention to, but there are certain noises around you that you must ignore. And that is the first lesson that you should remember. Because there would be people around you who would look at you and say that, "Why are you still trying? Please stop. This is not for you. Your English is not good. Your accent is not good. What kind of a content are you bringing in?" You know, there would be a lot of people who would come and criticize you, make fun of you. Just ignore those noises. And only when you ignore those noises and pay attention to the important ones, like people who come forward and say that we are here to help you, we are here to provide constructive feedback to you, just listen to them and take advice from them and just keep on going. That is the number one lesson I learned, because every time I come back from the district contest from Bahrain, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Oman, that is the first thing people said. "Why are you trying, Nisha? It is not for you. It is not possible." But I realized that I have to ignore those noises to move ahead. Number one lesson. Number two is to learn from your past failures. The first time when I took part in the district contest, I cleared the pre-finals. In those days, we used to have pre-finals and finals. So I cleared the pre-finals. I went to the finals. I lost. I came back, and the lesson I learned is that I did not know the number of words that I should have in my speech. My speech had 975 words. I was fast, and there were a lot of things that were happening that time. And I realized that this is one thing that I need to work on. Next year, when I competed, there was something else that people told me. Third year, when I competed, there was something else that I learned. So every year when I was competing and losing and failing, I made sure that I learned something and improve. So one year I won. I was the second place winner at the regional quarterfinals. Okay, so what is the area that I need to improve upon? Next year, I became a semi-finalist. I lost. Okay, what is the area that I need to work upon? I reached the finals and I have learned the lesson. What are the things that I need to work on to be the winner? And I will work on it. And that is exactly what you need to do. Learn from those failures and try to be better next year. So your performance, when people would look at you, whether you win or lose, people should come and tell you that Nisha or whoever it is, you were far better than what you did last year. You have improved. And that is what you should focus on. Incremental improvement. We call it incremental improvement. So that is number 2. Learn from your failures and improve at every single step. And the third lesson, the most important one, and that is my mantra, that never, ever give up. Never, ever give up. Not only just in contest. You look at anybody who is successful in their area or in whichever field they are, it is only because they refused to give up. Now, when you give up, there is 100% guarantee that you would never be able to achieve your goal. 100% sure. But when you don't give up, you will be able to achieve your goal. Probably not today, not tomorrow, not day after, but one day you will reach there. I'm a living example of that. And I'm 110% sure that people watching me right now here in District 20, they will vouch for it because they have seen me evolving as an average, ordinary speaker. So never, ever give up. Because when you do not give up, one fine morning, out of the hiding, your timber will come. Yes, it will happen. So these are the 3 things that you must remember when you decide to attempt for the contest. And let me tell you that you will fail at one point of time. You will fall. And my advice is you must fail. You must fall. And if you are serious about your goal, if you're serious about your dream, then I'm sure you will get up, dust it off, and you will try again. But if you're not serious, then you will remain there on the ground forever, because that is your comfort zone. You don't want to try again. So just get up and try one more time. And let me tell you from my own experience that it will happen one day. Thank you, and back to the Toastmaster of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DTM Nisha, for providing us all with those mantras of consistency. And now is the time for the question and answer session with DTM Nisha. Whoever wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. I can see Toastmaster Dinesh. Go ahead, Toastmaster Dinesh, with your question.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, and thank you, DTM Nisha Shivram, for a so wonderful today keynote speech. And I listen you when you were contesting in the World Championship. Madam Distinguished Toastmaster Nisha, you mentioned in your speech that once you lost that contest due to you used the 975 words in your speech. As usual, we use the 500, 600 or maximum 700 who are fully ready and balanced with their timing. And you being a seasoned Toastmaster, so why you not taken care before delivering the speech? You have given the content for 975 words.
Okay, sir, I was talking about the time when I first competed in the contest. I was not aware about all these things. I was just an inexperienced contestant with big dreams. I said that since I have won the division contest and I have cleared the pre-finals, it would be very easy for me to just go and, deliver the speech and win it. I did not know about the nitty-gritty of public speaking. So that was from an inexperienced contestant, but I learned my lesson that you have to maintain a certain word count because you should have enough time to take pauses, interact with the audience, and convey your message. So that was a huge mistake that I did back in those days when I was young and naive. Now I'm experienced. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you very much. I will follow your mantra, never ever give up. You must fail, you must fall to get up again and try. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The next question can be from Amit Ludani. Yes, go on, Mr. Amit.
Hi, good evening, and highly inspirational speech, DTM Nisha. The question is that, so you made multiple attempts and you felt that every time there was an incremental growth. But now that you have reached a certain level, would you still be contesting? Do you still think that you will have the motivation to still contest and go for that incremental motivation, incremental growth?
Of course, I will still be contesting. My speech is ready. For everybody who's going to compete this year, I'm ready. Yes, sir, I will be competing because like everybody who takes part in international speech contests, their goal is to become the world champion. And I'm one of them. So I have reached the finals of World Championship and I believe I can do it. So I will be competing. And again, as I was mentioning this in one of the sessions yesterday, that just because I'm the finalist of World Championship, I'm not going to get a wild card entry to the division or the district level contest. I have to start from the scratch like any other contestant, put in same level of efforts, work hard, and I will do it. So I will be competing, yes.
Thank you very much, DTM Nisha, and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
We have one question in the chat, and that is, you told about accent. Does accent affect judgment of the judges?
Accent, okay. No, it does not. It should not. Because it is not your accent that matters. It is how you convey your message. And that is why in the judges' ballot, we have a certain criteria on language, which clearly states that you should be grammatically correct and your pronunciations should be correct. It doesn't matter what your accent is, but you should be loud, clear, and expressive. And if your judges, if your audience can understand what you're saying, it's okay. Doesn't matter what kind of an accent you have. But sometimes people put on fake accent just to sound different. And when they do it, what happens is what they're saying lose its clarity. And when there is no clarity, people will not be able to understand what they're saying. And that is why they lose marks, and not just because of their accent.
Yes. I think we can take one more question from Asil. Yeah. We have time for one more question.
Hi, it is Mr. Nisha.
Yes.
Since 2019, all the maximum area I can make is the area contest right now. Still trying to make it at least to the district. I'm going to try again this year. But do you have like any tips for me on how I can improve? How can I reach to the next level? Do you have any tips for me?
Okay, now you need to first see what are the areas that you actually need improvement upon. Okay, sometimes when we write speeches, we think in our minds, we think that, oh, it's a great message I'm going to deliver, everybody would like it, but that may not be the case. So the first tip that I would like to give is to have a coach or a mentor who has been there, done that, who knows everything about public speaking, who knows how it works, okay, and work with them. Number one. Second thing is, whenever you prepare the speech, okay, whenever you are ready, you go to different clubs and present the speech in front of different set of audience to see whether they can understand the message the way you want to convey. Because sometimes we want to say something and they would take it in some other, different way. So try to present it in front of different set of people, get feedback from them. Now here, remember that there will be a lot of people giving a lot of different feedbacks. How will you decide which one to take? Go through the feedback, and if you see that there are more than 5 or 6 people telling you the same thing, that is the thing that you have to work. Okay, that is how you will take the feedback. No need to take all the feedback that you're receiving, but certain ones. Okay, so these are some of the tips from my side. Practice well, prepare well, be energetic, be confident.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm gonna try your advice on trying the speeches in different clubs, and hopefully the feedbacks will benefit me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, DTM Nisha, and please accept a certificate of appreciation from Division I.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker for the evening is a management graduate. Our next speaker for the evening was the runners-up at World Championship of Public Speaking 2022. And he specializes in storytelling for the young audience. He visits schools all over Canada and helps children discover the art and power of storytelling. I was just wondering if this gentleman is carrying along with him a box full of slices of cakes, because I was just hoping he would be bringing them here today. When he talked about the no-bake cake in the World Championship of Public Speaking, I always wanted a slice from him. Now, I'm sure that he has a box with him because he's going to talk about think inside the box, how to reach online. I'm talking about DTM Alexander Mate, who won the second prize at the World Championship of Public Speaking. Welcome, DTM Alexander Mate, and the virtual screen is all yours.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Maya. I have to say I'm pretty glad and proud to be in Bahrain today. It's incredible what we can do with this technology, travel halfway across the world to be somewhere else virtually. I have come to embrace this medium, but it was not always like this. Do you remember your icebreaker speech, the first speech that you gave at your Toastmasters Club? I'm curious to know how long ago it was. You can just write in the chat how many years ago it was. I'm going to write it here too. For me, it was 15 years ago. I see a lot of answers. Some are relatively new. I see Elaine Lung is here, a fellow second place winner, I think, or third place winner, right? So 15 years ago, I remember it very clearly and vividly. I was extremely nervous. I didn't know what to do with my hands, and I didn't know what to do with my words. They were coming out all crooked, and every second word was hesitation. My evaluator stopped counting them after 50. Well, luckily I stayed with my local club, and I was able to not only get away from the fear of public speaking, but I came to enjoy it and to love the stage. And this not only was through the Toastmasters program, but especially the International Speech Contest. They encouraged me to participate in the speech contest, and even though I did not like competition and contests, I embraced the contest and I embraced the stage. And year after year, I still competed every year, and I became more confident in my ability to take the stage and to speak to people, well, in front of me. And then it was March 2020 when everything changed. COVID-19, the lockdowns, the Zoom meetings. And I remember at first, even though our Toastmasters Club went online, I was resisting. I was resisting this box. I don't want to do speeches online. What can we do in here? There's no way I can transmit a message to people on a screen. No, if I want to give a speech, if I want to be effective, I have to have people in front of me. I need to look them in the eye. I need to hear them laugh. I need to watch them and see their reactions. It doesn't work in this box. So I resisted. But because of my storytelling career, working with children, some schools started asking me, well, can you present online to these schools? I was paid for this, so okay, I'll try. When I started, it was really difficult trying to reach these children that were not in front of me. But week after week, I found different tips, different tricks, different strategies to reach them. And over the course of 2 years doing this in front of children, I think I've developed quite a toolbox that could help you too. And if you want, just by the way, if you want to know who are the most difficult audiences, it's children. If you're able to keep children engaged, you can work with any audience. What do I want you to take away from today? Well, it's the title of my mini workshop, Thinking Inside the Box. We often hear thinking outside the box as a way to be more creative, of not doing always the same thing. But in fact, if you ask some professional artists, they might say the opposite. They are more creative when they have limits, when they have limitations. Okay, I want you to draw something, and it can be anything. Well, I don't know. Okay, I want you to draw something, but it has to be on this size, with these colors, with this material, and about this subject. Okay, yeah, okay, I know what I can do, right? So this is what the concept I want you to take out from today is, what can you do with this box, inside the box, that you would not be able to do on the stage? I'll give you 3 examples. Oh, am I able to share the screen? Yes, good.
Yes, DTM Alex, you can.
Great. Here is Linda Marie Miller, second place winner in 2020.
I live in a very diverse neighborhood. All my neighbors are Black and they like me. I have never used a racial slur or told a racial joke in my entire life. I live in a very diverse neighborhood.
Can you imagine trying to do that on a stage? Linda Marie Miller in 2020, she was thinking inside the box. What can I do on this screen that I would not be able to do on a stage, using visual props like this? Here's another second place winner in 2021, Nitai Yair Levy. You may remember this one.
Let's travel back in time. Ready? I'm 17. I'm in love.
Woof. Beautiful. That is extremely powerful. And you don't have to think very hard to imagine that it's not possible to do this in a live audience with people in front of you. Can you hide everybody's eyes at the same time? Nope. Nitai was thinking inside the box to be more creative. What can I do with my camera, with the people online, that it is impossible to do in person? And here, and by the way, watch Linda Marie Miller's speech and watch Nitai Yayer's speech if you haven't already. They are, I would say, revolutionary, not only in the way that they use the camera, but in their content. And here's another one. This is also a second place winner. You might recognize him from 2022. This is my no-bake cake. You want a piece? I can give you one. Just reach out and take it. There you go. Yes, take it. It's for you. Take it as a reminder. Nope. This is my no-bake cake. Would I have been able to do that on stage with real people in the audience? Here's my cake. Take it. No, it would not. It would have been a little different, right? I was thinking, what can I do in this box that I would not be able to do on stage? This is what I mean when I say think inside the box. If your next contest or your next presentation is online, what little thing can you add that would be impossible to do on a big stage? Be more creative by thinking inside the box. I must say this. I was listening to some conversations online about, well, people were saying things like, well, you know, if Cyril, who won the world championship, if he had been online, it wouldn't have worked because he was using audience response, right? Call and response. Indini, what is it? I am here? No, I forgot. This is me. This is me. People repeat, this is me. You're right. If you say you can't do that online, you're absolutely right. If he had participated online, I can bet you that he would have done it differently. He would have imagined his box. He would have found a way to think inside the box and to deliver his message differently. And if I had been on the stage in Nashville, I would have delivered it differently as well. I don't even know if I would have had the cake with me on stage. Maybe it would have been somewhere else in the room. So before we go to the questions, I would like to encourage you to keep going your learning about virtual speaking. And I can encourage you to go to this website because I'm developing a course right now that I call the 6-week Standout Challenge. Instead of just showing up to your next meeting or showing up to your next competition, I encourage you to stand out. So let me show you just quickly what it looks like. It'll be really cool on your mobile platform. So let me write in the chat how you can get in touch with me, and then we'll get to the questions. Sorry, I'm just looking for my link. I will find it and put it back in the link. But my website is simply myname.com, alexandremat.com. So you can find me there. There is a contact form, and there is also a way for you to sign up for a newsletter that I can send out every week or every few weeks. But if you want to get more insight, and if you want to go in more details about how to stand out online, there it is. I found it. Now, if you join me, we'll be able not only to share, I'll be able to share some tips on how to use the stage, but tips on, just like Angela has given us some tips too about your sound, about the use of this stage, about your camera, where you put it, what do you do with your lights to be able to make a better impact. Let's remember that if we're here on this virtual stage, every time you have the opportunity and an audience, you can make a difference in people's lives. Okay, let's take some few questions before we finish. And thank you so much, by the way, for keeping your cameras on. It's a pleasure to be able to see you.
Thank you, DTM Alexander Matt. And anybody has any questions, please raise your hand. Okay. Toastmaster Asil, go ahead.
Toastmaster Alexandria, I really loved your comedy. You really made me laugh out loud. I took a look at your websites. I even marked it so I can check it out later, but I would like to have some tips from you. I'll be participating in humorous contests. My mentor encourages me to talk about food since I love it so much and I have some funny incidents. Do you have any humorous speech?
Yes, sorry, that cut off a little bit. They encourage you to speak about.
Okay, real quick, I really love food and my mentor suggested one time I should talk about it and I have a few incidents. Do you have some tips on how I can turn my love of food into a humorous speech and make people laugh out loud just like you make me laugh
Yes.
out loud?
Yes, so I can give some insight, especially if you're online. Now, it also depends if you see the audience or not. When I competed in the World Championship, I could not see the audience. So I had to pretend like I was seeing them. And one trick that I can give you is if you know that there is something funny coming up, you need to make sure that you let the people react and laugh. This is especially true in a hybrid setting when people are, if there are dozens or hundreds of people in one stage, laughter is contagious. So if you're in a hybrid setting, participating from home, make sure that you have extra time to let the laughter die out. If they are all at home, then it's not as important because it's easier for one person to stop laughing than it is for a full crowd. Humor comes from surprise or from diverting the audience's attention. So if I go to my semifinal speech, I talk about different topics that are contentious. People disagree, and I go into really delicate subjects like vaccine, anti-vaccine, pro-choice, pro-life, chocolate, vanilla. See, you expect something to be very, very bad, but suddenly it's just chocolate vanilla. So it's the surprise that comes and it makes laughter. And the laughter in this case also helps to ease the tension that could be in the room. But get in touch with me if you want to speak further.
Yes, I marked both of your websites. I'll get in touch with you soon. Thank you for the tips and thank you for the laugh out loud. You really made my day. Wish me the very best luck. I would make it further in the humorous speech. Thank you so much.
Of course, not only good luck, but have fun.
Alexander Matt, I have one question. This is my observation in this year's semi-final. Semi-final 1, semi-final 2, semi-final 3, and semi-final 4. One, the hybrid contestant 1 and 1 from online. All 4, it went result like this. 1 from hybrid and 1 from online. What is your take on this?
Well, statistically, you could argue or you could say that you had a better chance of winning or making it to the final if you participated online. And I can see why. Half of the judges, or approximately half of the judges, were online. And when I was on my screen, it means that I was able to reach the online audience and judges much more effectively than the people who were on site in Nashville. So it would be such a good exercise to be able to analyze the voting ballots to see if there is a big difference between the judges who were on site in Nashville and the judges who were online. I think it's very possible. But also it also depends of how much practice we had. I mean, I had been practicing online for 2 years, right? And the same thing for most of the online competitors. And the on-site competitors were probably also practicing online and suddenly were on site. So maybe they, missing not enough practice to be on site to make a better impact. there are many factors, and I think the discussion will keep going for a while.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you, Ditya.
I think.
Master of Ceremony, there is Toastmaster Elaine has raised her hand.
Yeah. Go ahead, Toastmaster Elaine.
Hey, Alexander. How long did you work on that final speech before you presented it?
Well, if you consider that it's a speech that I had started developing a few years ago, I had maybe worked the equivalent of, I don't know, 50 hours before this year. And I completely revamped it this year. I calculated about 40 to 50 hours of hard work just on that final speech, which is less than the amount of work that I put on my semi-final speech, which was triple that.
Wow.
Right.
Good to see you, Elaine.
Should I go ahead with the other questions, Did?
There are two hands raised. You can go with Toastmaster Taufik and Toastmaster Girija, I think.
Yeah, we will make it a bit quick. Yes, Toastmaster Taufik.
Hi, thank you very much for the lovely program. I have a question regarding the tradition. Was it something that you came up with the last moment, or was it already there planned in your speech? Thank you.
Well, the story about the cake is something that I was already telling in different audiences, but the message was always about being in the moment and being with the people that you love when it matters. But every time I gave that speech, that was always in my mind, that's not really the speech that I want to give. It's not the message that I want to put across. The real reason was traditions. So it was the first message that I had in 2017 when I first developed this speech, but I put that message aside because it was too difficult to try to put across. And this year, with the help of my mentor and coach, Mark Hunter, the 2009 world champion of public speaking, I was able to bring back that message. And by making the message more important than the story, I think that's what made my speech much more powerful, at least for me.
Okay. Last question from Toastmaster Girija in this session.
Two very quick questions. Thank you very much for a beautiful presentation and the demonstration. One is, do you have to have a different speech content for semifinals and finals?
Yeah, you can look in the rule book to be sure. The rule is something like the final speech cannot be the same or must be very different from any other speech that you have presented in the final or semifinal. Okay. So the final needed to be something that nobody has heard before.
Thank you. Another aspect that today, the recent international speech contest that was there, I was observing that, and the presenter was doing it live and we were watching online. Now, many of the comments were, does she think that she's talking to a kindergarten kid? That is the kind of voice modulation and body language that is happening. So how do you balance between something that is not bordering too much on the dramatics and at the same time does not look like a boring corporate financial data rattling? So how do you manage that balance?
I can't answer except that it is a balance, and I think you have to find yourself what is the best balance for you. If you look at the three top competitors from last year, you will see the champion who is much more natural, right, in her speaking style and in her gestures. But then you've got Nitai Yair, who is much more theatrical, and Roger Caesar even more, who's very, very expressive. And that's how he is in real life. I know him personally. So for him, it works. For me, I would not want to be that dramatic. So this year I tried to find the right balance and something that works for me. It's all about sincerity. And if you try to be someone else or be something else, the audience will find that there's something that's not working quite right.
So
Be
you have
yourself.
to be in your elements.
Pardon?
You have to be in your elements, and then that works for you, right?
That's right. And I mean, experiment. I have found that I have to, I have said all this too, I try to be natural, right? But at the same time, I found that I need to exaggerate a little more so that I come across as natural. So it's a little funny, but that's the balance we have to find.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Kirija.
Thank you. Thank you, DTM Alexander. Kindly accept a certificate of appreciation from Division I for your presence today.
Thank you so much. And remember, everyone, if you want to stand out online, you have to think inside the box.
Yes, definitely. Let me now hand over the stage to our Division I Director, DTM Roshan Lewis, for the panel discussion. Over to you, DTM Roshan.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. And thank you all the champions who just addressed us. Toastmaster Angela Heath, the International Video Contest winner, and distinguished Toastmaster Alexander Matt, this runner, second place winner in WCPS, and DTM Nisha, the semi-finalist for WCPS. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to one of the part two, the second most important, the panel discussion. So let me start, introduce our panelists first. Can our panelists please switch on their video, please? Okay, thank you. And DTM Rafiq, can you switch on your video, please? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. The three wonderful panelists are here. So let me start introducing our first panelist, distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Salim. Toastmaster since 2002, past District 20 Director, and he has been in panel and also coach and mentor for many speakers in district and around and even outside the district. So it's our pleasure to have you, distinguished Toastmaster, past District 20 Director, Mohammed Salim. We welcome you.
Thank you.
Then we have the young and energetic. He is 2020 District 79 champion for international speech, 2022 District 75 champion for the international speech, a Toastmaster for 19 years, holding a record of 59 losses, consistency matters, and 32 wins in Toastmaster contests over the last 14 years across all levels and categories of contests. A filmmaker, scriptwriter, editor, director, and a survivor who believes that it is not over until we win. Welcome you, champion, distinguished Toastmaster Rafiq Ahmed.
Thank you, DTM Roshan. Thank you.
Welcome. And we have one more panelist, distinguished Toastmaster, is my mentor when I joined to Toastmasters. Distinguished Toastmaster Rufus Pinto, Toastmaster since October 2006, District third place winner in international speech category, division champion in international speech, humorous speech and table topics, taken leadership roles at club, area, division and district levels, conducted YLPs and trained speech contestants, presently training coordinator in PQD team for District 20. So these are all our wonderful panelists today. So dear audience, our panel discussion will go in 5 phases. Phase 1, we'll be talking about introduction and I'll show a brief video of top 3 winners. So our main session today, the main objective is evaluate these top 3 speeches and get maximum feedback from these wonderful panelists. So phase 2 will be prepared question. The moderator curated questions will be asked to panelists. And third one, we have cross section, a 10 minutes audience questions to our panelists. And phase 4 cross section will be evaluation for the top 3 speeches from our panelists. And phase 4 will be rapid fire. It is a 10 minutes question and answers from the audience. And phase 5, the last section, the take home message from our panelists. So before I start the panel discussion, let me show a brief videos of 3 speeches which happened in WCPS world stage. Here we go.
Thank you, Contest Chair.
You're welcome.
I love that the Contest Chair sounds more Zimbabwean than I do. In Zimbabwe, we speak Shona. And in this beautiful language, we have a very important word that I'd like to share with you today. In Shona, we say Ndini. N-D-I-N-I. Ndini. Try it. Beautiful. It means, this is me. In my language, we have one word for this very important phrase. This is me. Ndini.
So why am I here and not there? That I can tell you in one word. Tradition. In the movie Fiddler on the Roof, Tevier, the father of the house, struggles between the traditions that hold his people together and the changing world around him. I really identify with Tevier. For me, there is nothing more important than tradition, tradition. Contest Chair, my friends online and my friends on site, for generations, my family has had a tradition. All the family gathers all together at the same date. This date. When I was a child, these gatherings centered around the main ingredient. My grandmother, grandmama, humble, resilient, and the best cook in the world.
When Dad saw us exchanging the 2 gifts, listening and understanding, he joined in the hug as well. My friends, the 2 gifts united us since. Are you labeling and avoiding someone in your life? They may not be someone rough and tough like my mama. They could be anyone in your home, work, community. My fellow storytellers, behind everyone's actions, there's a story. So let's make this world a better place by giving more of our listening and our understanding. Because as Dad said, these are the 2 gifts that unite us. Contest Chair.
The audience, you might have seen the brief speeches of top 3 global stage winners. Thank you, Area Director Taufik, for blending this video and helping us technologically providing this video. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to directly into panel discussion. I have wonderful 3 panelists. Let me start with distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Salim. Your first question. What are the best 3 things which made Cyril Dim's speech to win the first place? What are the best 3 things you observed? Kindly unmute.
Thank you, Division Director Roshan, for having me here. If you allow me to share my screen, I can do a small presentation I have made.
Yes, you're allowed to share the screen.
Okay. Just a small presentation. Okay. We are going to analyze 3 best things which made Cyril Jr. Dim the world champion of public speaking. First thing is the selection of characters. Actually, this is the most important thing when I tell people is that selecting your characters. It should be very limited characters. You can't have a full bunch of characters where every time you need to bring them and introduce them. Here we have very good of character. Dad being a Nigerian, that justifies his name again. Mom being a good mom, wise woman, who comes and justifies the name given to him. The friend Nick, actually 2018, he mentioned the fly in the milk from Congo, speaks very slowly. There was Nicholas Rowling, understand the latter part of the name, and himself, long complicated name again. So this is what really makes a champion, wherein you bring in very limited characters. Now coming to the content part, the second thing is the content part. Now content where he opened with anchor word. Anchor word for me is very important when you talk about the anchor point is that's Dini, it's me. You know, it's not that he alone said it throughout the speech. There were anchor points every point, whereas he made the audience use that anchor point every time he made them use it again. So this brings in a connection to the audience very well, and they follow your speech. What happened is that there is a very little attention span wherein the audience might not, have attention to you. So this is where you bring in attention with these anchors and you make it remember. Like Dhananjaya used it, I see something. Similarly, these are the anchor points. Dini, it's about me. So this is most important. Now, the body of the speech divided into three stages of his life actually. The stage where he was young, where he was bullied at school. And the second, he mentioned about being 18 and wherein he made a decision to change his name. Number three is going to college. That three stages of life, it's very prominent, and this is where you need to get these three aspects of your life when you do a speech. That's what the speaker did. Now here, if you really look at the stage, like it is more of a standard practice. Like you need to be you can't be a hero throughout the speech. At one point of time, you sound like a comedian, then you become a villain of your own speech, then you become a hero. This is what the three stages which he had gone through. There is one thing which we really need to understand is the realization part. There is a point wherein the realization comes in. That comes at 6 minutes and 19 seconds. There's a realization point wherein his friend gave him collected his ID card and say this is what his identity is all about. That is the realization part. So every speech should or try to have the realization part within. And the conclusion he had a little bit mixed up in the sense of conclusion and climax. Always I recommend speakers to have a conclusion and before that the climax. Whereas here he made a conclusion before, then he came to the climax. That's a wonderful transition here. Now, the third thing is the most important thing is the delivery stage you say wherein he didn't, normally when we do speech practices, we have, 6 or 9 points, whereas he made into 3 parts, like wherein it's very simple. The transition was from one corner to another. It was more easy, in terms of delivery. Now, the body language, that was the most interesting, or I could say the most important thing for him to win is being so confident. He looked confident from the moment he entered on the stage. He was standing there looking at the contestant for 6 seconds to make sure that the contestant sat down. He was not real. That was very confident and composed speaker. The gestures and facial expressions very appropriate. He was smiling throughout the speech actually. I could say that he reminded me of our district director, Khalid Abdul. They both resemble the same, and gestures and facial expression the same for me. So these are the three things: the delivery, the content, and selection of characters. This is what I could identify throughout his speech, which made him the world champion of public speech. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, distinguished host Mohammed Salim. Can I, okay, you unshared the screen. So I sum up, it's characters, it is content, and it's delivery, which made Cyril Dim's speech winning speech. Now let me move on to second panelist, DTM Rafiq Ahmed. You have been champion. So this question to you, what is the best thing you liked about Cyril Dim's winning speech? The best one thing which you liked in his speech.
Thank you very much, Division I Director, DTM Roshan Lewis. I also want to acknowledge and greet a good evening to DTM Ali Shabazz Ali and to the district leaders, and also DTM Mohammed Salim. It's been a while. It's been, I think, a really long time. So really nice seeing you here, DTM Mohammed Salim, and also DTM Rufus, and all of you here from Bahrain. It's good to be back home after a really long time. Cyril Dim, a 24-year-old Toastmaster, a software engineer who originates from Zimbabwe, representing Poland, wins the World Championship of Public Speaking. And in my opinion, the one line that sums it up for me is this: Cyril Dim Jr. proved that always when it comes to public speaking, or even outside public speaking, when it comes to showcasing your talent, always less is more. I think that was the perfect example of his speech, because he did less of everything. He did not come up with animated gestures on stage. He had no difficult content, and he had a very simple message. This is me. So it can't be more louder than that, than saying the fact that, hey, this much is more than enough. One thing I noticed in Cyril Dim's speech, right from the start all the way till the end, is his sincerity to what he was talking about. And so if you ask me, the one thing that I loved about his speech is definitely going to be the factor of him being sincere throughout his speech. There was not a single moment in his speech where I felt that there was a story, there was an anecdote, or there was an example that he was sharing that may not be real, they may not be relatable, or may not be true. That comes with you being a speaker, you being a sincere speaker on stage. So that's what stood out for me. If I were to sum it up, message, body language, and the title itself. Very simple, sincere. So less was definitely more for Cyril Dim.
Thank you very much, DTM Rafiq. I understand one most important thing, what came out from your topic is sincerity. So when you have a story with sincerity, automatically body, language, gesture, everything matches with your outcome, and it engages your audience. Thank you very much for that. Now let me move on to our distinguished host, Rufus Pinto. Welcome to the session. My question to you: what is the best aspect of Cyril Dim? Is it content or delivery? I know first two speakers gave very detailed. I am putting you in a catch-22 situation, but I need your expertise on this. What is the best aspect of Cyril Dim in terms of content or delivery? What do you?
Mr. Panel Moderator, Division I Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Roshan Lewis, Honorable District Officials, my fellow panelists, Distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Salim and Distinguished Toastmaster Rafiq Ahmed, and my lovely audience. Good evening to you all. This question reminds me of an incident which happened last month when I visited Radisson Blu Hotel for brunch. After the brunch, the F&B manager asked, "What did you like, food or service?" I replied, both. Both were excellent. And please ensure that both are always in tandem with each other. Same with the world champion. The best aspect was heart-touching content and a perfect delivery. Do you all remember Dhananjay? Even after several years, you remember I see something? Yes, because we saw something. Press Vasilov. I went to change the tire and the tire changed me. Not only him, but it changed us. And now, this year, a world champion, Cyril. This is me. Ndini. Even after several years, we will remember his speech. Why? Not because of the content. It was also because of delivery. So you have to make sure that your words and action should touch audience heart. So my suggestion to all the fellow contestants who want to reach the world stage and who want to win, make sure that your content and delivery is perfect. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, DTM Rufus Pinto. You answered it right. Because what I take from your feedback is the content and delivery which add values, because it is the two sides of one valuable coin. That's what I understand. Thank you very much for that. Now the next round, I will start first question with DTM Rufus Pinto. The question for you: what is the most influential factor which aspiring contestants should follow from DTM Alexander Matt's speech pertaining to online delivery? I repeat the question: what is influential factor the aspiring contestant should follow from distinguished Toastmaster Alexander Matt's speech pertaining to online delivery? The champion also listening to you here. Over to you.
Okay, it's an honor to give my feedback to the world champion when he's there right on stage, right in front. No doubt, not physically, but on virtual stage. What I felt the most influential factor was, let me put it in 3 words. Don't report, transport. Champion Alexander Matt did that perfectly. He was not there, but he took the audience to where he was. Didn't we all feel that we were at his family gathering, eating that piece of cake? He also gave us the no-bake cake, not only the recipe. Said, take, eat it, as if we were there. Champ Alexander, I relished the speech. Not there, but here. And the X factor to all the contestants is to transport the audience to where you want them to be. Mr. Panel Moderator.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Rufus Pinto, for that. I really liked it. He took where he is, the entire audience. I was also witnessing his speech. I felt I was next to him. That is the magic of what he did, think inside the box. That's what he spoke today. Thank you very much for that. Now let me move on to distinguished Toastmaster Muhammad Salim. Your question is, all 3 speeches, if I ask how these factors like pauses, pitch, pace, and speaking area usage have been effectively managed in these speeches. I repeat, the pause, pitch, pace, and speaking area usage, how effectively these champions managed while giving their delivery, either physical as well as online. Over to you.
Thank you, moderator. Actually, this is something, the reason for them being a champion is because they used all these factors. That is the most important thing. For me, pause plays a very important role, because without pause, the speech is actually. And pitch, actually, I learned very long back from Toastmaster DTM Joel Indrapati. He's the one who gave me an idea of pitch, because he says that you need to scale between pitch from 1 to 9. That's what I tell people, that you need to scale your pitch between 1 to 9. If you can manage that, then you are a champion speaker. The pace or the rate which I rate is like, it shouldn't, because a speech is 800 words, you need to divide by 7 minutes, roughly around 110, 120 words per minute is what we talk about rate actually. Now talking about the world champions, all 3 champions, how did they? Now talking about Cyril, actually, the golden thumb rule is that when you open a speech, at least maintain 4 to 6 minutes, gaze the audience, look at the audience, take your own time on stage before you attempt a word or make a gesture. So Cyril made a wonderful that rule. He ensured the contestants sat down, because I could see the shadow of Morag, Matthews and DTM moving around, and that is where he maintained the composure to let the contestant sit. Then he made sure that he started the speech, and very composed actually, very slow, and there was a huge pause between the word me and this is me, because that is where you emphasize the word every time you bring it. Now talking about pitch, very consistent pitch throughout the speech. Actually, I could rate between 5 to 9 with the scale of between 1 to 9. I could scale between 5 to 9, wherein not too low, not too high actually, and it was wonderful in terms of pitch. Now talking about the pace, which is the rate of the speech, we had a very subtle, because I remember the slowest or the number of words which was used very less in the international championship, was Brazilian. I think it was only 430 words, but he managed more than 6 minutes because he had a lot of other gestures, other voices. Whereas here, I could say that his speech was less, like an average of 100, I could say, 100 words per minute at least. But he increased his pace towards the end, wherein he wanted to emphasize on the message. He went a bit faster. Now, use of the speaking area, this is what I normally call the lion in the cage, being from the subcontinent of Africa. The lion in the cage, this movement, he didn't use the backstage actually, but again, he's a world champion. I don't want to comment, but what are limitations he had used the front end of the stage to the maximum, and that is why he is the champion. Talking about Alexander pause, he didn't give long pauses. It was like the speech was, throughout it was maintained well, but he did give ample pause between the sentence. With each sentence, there was some pause, but he did not give much pause in between the sentence, between words. That is the beauty of it actually. You give pause in between the sentence, whereas you can give at the end of the sentence. Pitch, actually, I could say, not because he's here, he's more of a simple, excellent range. I mean, he articulated in a different range. He could move from a pitch of 2 to 9, when he said tradition, the way he articulated was excellent. That's the transition of voice that, any speaker, aspiring speaker should try and, maintain it. Pace, he was a bit fast, actually. He knows that he had a lot of content. He maintained between 120, 130 words. Use of the speaking area was very limited because of the virtual, but it's quite justified but he ensured that he came closer to the camera at times whenever required. He could move when he presented the cookie, or it was like he brought in close to the camera. That was effective. That is where the limitation to manage very. Now talking about Mahathir, actually, initial pauses, he maintained that initial pause with the contest chair. If you have noticed the speech, actually, that involved humor. He waited till the contest chair and acknowledged him, actually. That really, made him so confident, more subtle, actually. And after every joke, he tried to maintain a very short pause. He didn't maintain, because there was laughter from the audience, but he did not give too much time for the audience to finish the joke. Now, that is where he maintained very subtle, with waiting for the audience to react. That pause was good. Now, pitch, he had a uniform pitch between 5 to 7. And rate, he was like monotonous throughout his speech, actually. He didn't rush towards the end. Actually, he had a very average pace on the rate. Use of the speaking area, I will remember Darren Lacroix, actually, you need to use this, mark the stage, wherein you are marking the stage not just to show the characters, but to remember speeches. Every time you mark your stage, you start remembering your speech. That is what you need to practice. But he didn't mark the stage because it showed that he was a very seasoned speaker. That's where he didn't mark the stage, but he was moving on the stage, and he had two distinct characters, the father and the mother, on his left and right. So that was very good in terms of placing the characters on the stage. With this, actually, no further comments for the champions because they are the champions. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, distinguished host Mohammed Salim. This question specially asked for our aspiring contestants to know what is the importance of pause, pace, pitch, and speaking area. Thank you very much for that elaborate answer. Now, let me move on to our champion, distinguished host Rafiq Ahmed. So I want to ask you very quickly, what are the important observations you would like our aspiring contestants to observe from third place winner, Toastmaster Mas Mahathir's speech?
Thank you very much, panel moderator, DTM Roshan once again. Mas Mahathir, for me, I think is someone who stood out on stage looking glamorous. I think that's the right word I want to use. And not just on the final stage, Mas Mahathir stood out right at the semi-finals itself. Many times as speakers, as veteran speakers and coaches, we put so much weightage on content, we put so much weightage on delivery, body gestures, use of stage, but I don't hear people talking about giving a complete package on stage. Mas Mahathir actually took this to the next level by not just bringing a good speech, good delivery, good content, but he also brought forward good presentation of himself. End of the day, what you see and what looks best sells best. I mean, let's face it, this is human conditioning. We've been conditioned to pick that which looks more attractive. So Mas Mahathir actually capitalized on this one particular thing, which maybe we think it's not important, but let me remind you this again. Cyril Dim himself had his own presentation of himself where he has his traditional dress worn so that he can connect with you personally. Way back several years ago, Aaron Beverly came out with an Indian traditional dress because his speech was about an Indian wedding. I'll take you here. We had David Henderson, who came out with an aviator jacket in order for us to share his experience of being a pilot. So it is not just about delivery, content, gestures. It is also about the way you present yourself. Again, I want to mark that in quotation marks and say this. Glamorous, I think, was the take-home message for me when I look at Mas Mahathir. You got to look glamorous as well. That's very important.
Thank you very much. I love that. When you said what looks best tells best. That's wonderful. That summarizes what a contestant should be on stage while he's delivering. So let me move on to our phase 3 now. This is a cross section. I'll be giving 2 minutes each to each panelist. I'll be selecting a speaker, international speech winner. You have to quickly 2 minutes evaluate entire speaker's speech on the final stage. So let me start with distinguished Toastmaster Rafiq Ahmed. Cyril Dim, the evaluation from your end for brief 2 minutes evaluation. Contestant for evaluation, please observe this too. But over to you.
Thank you, DTM Roshan Lewis. I will borrow the words of DTM Salim here because that's something which stood out for me for Cyril Dim as well. The few seconds at the start, that power pause, just looking at people, getting in that energy, I think that is what set the pace for him. That is really important. We tend to rush. We don't know that it is very important to let loose, right? You got to loosen up a bit. So that few seconds of pause right there on stage was him loosening himself up and letting that nervous energy go. So from that point onwards, I think it was not difficult for him to look natural after that because he lost all his nervous energy. And what better way to connect but to start connecting directly with your contest chair? That's the first connection you want to make by bringing the contest chair into the spotlight. And then one old technique in the book, I like to say this is something which is a really, really old technique in the book, which is getting your audience involved. Did Cyril Dim do that? Yes, not once, but twice in his speech. And there were other opportunities also in his speech when he wanted to get your audience involved, because then what happens is when you're involved, he's actually tapping you and saying, hey, wake up, you got to listen to my message. This is the important bit of my message, which I want you to take home. So he did that amazingly. I don't even want to get into the evaluation of his content because then I will be starting to doubt that, hey, was he a winner? Because there was no doubt he was a winner. I remember being on a group where there were around 300 of us watching the World Championship on a shared Zoom screen. And right there, while Cyril delivered his speech, I posted on the chat box, I said, he's going to be the world champion. A lot of people got offended because Cyril was not the last speaker. But that's what happens when you leave an impact so great that now you shut yourself off to listening to anybody else. And you've already made your decision, right? So I wanted to quote this one more time. I've quoted this several times wherever I go to speak. One of my coaches, who's still my coach, distinguished Toastmaster Nomel Hilongos, who used to be a part of Bahrain before, he said this to me. He said, listen, Rafiq, you lose, you win, whatever it is, right? You want to lose by a far margin so you don't feel bad. You want to win by a far margin. Be a clear winner, no shadow of doubt. And that's exactly what Cyril did, I think, on that stage. For me, personally speaking, when he gave that speech, he sealed the deal. So no doubt, no shadow of doubt in the judges' minds that thinking, hey, could it be Cyril? No, it was Cyril. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. To sum up what I understand from you, the powerful pause, which he started, which connected the audience, and the here and now principle, you used context chair in his speech and connected the present situation. And finally, you also went on with whatever is strong message to the people. Wonderful evaluation. Thank you very much. I'm sure your inputs have been absorbed by our aspiring contestants. Now, let me move on to second evaluation for 2 minutes. Distinguished Toastmaster Rufus Pinto, you will be evaluating a champion DTM Alexander Matt. Over to you. Can you unmute, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Panel Moderator. The opening lines, in fact, caught my attention. I would rather be there on the physical stage than here on the small screen. So why am I here and not there? I thought he had not started his speech. He was questioning someone. Then he said tradition. So even there I was confused. I thought maybe he was referring to the heated debate which is going on, whether we should have contests on stage or on the screen. Quite interesting. I wanted to listen because I would prefer on stage. But then he gave the message, traditions hold us together. Very apt. All aspiring contestants should know that we have to tell the audience what we want to say. Then he transported to where he was. He emotionally connected us, the audience, several times. Fiddler out on the Roof. You all have seen the movie. How he holds the family together with traditions. Then the no-bake cake. Yes, cake is a favorite at all events and gatherings. Then everyone adding a special ingredient. We in India have several occasions. So this does connect to the audience. It was a perfect story. One story which took us to where he was, and I felt as if I was in that family gathering with a strong and powerful message. What do you want to hold together? Your family, your community, your social group? Then there is one thing, that is traditions. Traditions hold us together. Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Alexander, for perfect message. Back to you.
Thank you, Ritium Rufus. What I understand, his narration of tradition with climax, suspense, then transportation. That's what made his speech winning, and he spread that aroma of cake in the small box, thinking inside the box. So now let me move to quickly to distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Salim. I want your evaluation on third place winner, Mas Mahathir's speech. 2 gifts.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, moderator, once again. Now, few years back, or maybe 8 years back, me and Rafiq were discussing that what should be the formula or the structure of the speech. First 4 minutes, you need to keep the audience entertained. Then there is a 2 minutes time wherein you have a conflict and reconciliation, and 1 minute is a closing. That is an 7-minute speech, if you really look into that. That was the formula which Mahathir had used in his speech, wherein it was very, it is a formula which everyone can. There are certain formulas in Toastmasters public speaking actually which we can start. This is one of the formula actually. Here actually, he kept the audience entertained. Actually. That's the most important. And even in the opening, actually, he waited for the contestant, acknowledge him back, wherein he had that time, so that he got that extra time there. And the same method what Dhananjaya used is about cool dad and tough mom. That is the method we used. Now, here he spoke about psychological disorder labeling part, which is in something very new. We have not heard much about it. Here, in terms of content, actually, there is only one thing, content which was not much appropriate of the awarded about the vampire joke gel well. Actually. If you go back and repeat the speech, the vampire thing didn't gel well in the speech, actually, and it was just inserted for sake of humor. Now, the most important thing when we talk about the speech Same like world champion Manoj Vasudevan, he had conflict with his wife wherein they had some issues. We get conflict among family members, among friends, among colleagues, among postmasters. The conflict, he brought up the conflict very well. From the beginning, he was developing towards a conflict wherein he could speak about it. That is where the most important thing. Now, once the conflict is there, normally what any speakers try to do is they reconcile themselves. That is being avoided actually. What I heard from one of the world champion telling that if there is some conflict, try to bring in a third party. It could be anybody, your daughter, your father, your wife, could be anybody. When you have a conflict, there should be a third party interviewing wherein reconcile it. You don't do that. Similarly, here when the speaker had a conflict with his mother, the father comes and reconciles. This is the most important thing when you write down your speech. When you do speeches of this nature, conflict and reconciliation, bring in involve a third party who does this. Don't try to do it yourself. Overall, actually, here he had actually the anchor point was missing for me. Actually, I don't want to evaluate, but for the future speakers, actually, your anchor point should be very clear. Whereas here, every time his father comes and tells something new, every time there's something added to that one phrase. Behind every action, there's a story. Every time there's something being added. Actually, for speakers who want to keep that anchor point tangible, very much intact throughout your speech, so audience can connect very well. It could be an anecdote, it could be an analogy, it can be an activity, acronym, or an audio visual. If you remember Lance Miller's speech, it was about validating. There was a sound only. So these are the things you need to keep it very crisp. You can't alterate your anchor points throughout actually. This is something which I learned from Mahathir's speech. I'm not evaluating again. This is what I felt actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, District Toastmaster Mohammed Salim. What I understand is a conflict, reconciliation, and bring the character and get the story across and solve the problem before you end your story. And that's wonderfully said. Thank you very much. And now it's a phase 4 or the rapid fire audience questions. Audience, it's open for you 5 minutes, next 5 minutes. Any questions you can ask any moderator, which will help us to build our speaking skill and the contest, winning contest. Over to you, audience. Your time starts now. Yeah, there is feedback, deep analysis, and interesting panel discussion by Toastmaster Damodaran. Thank you very much. Any questions, audience? Otherwise, I'll move ahead. Raise hand. If no question, they really understood. That's what I believe. And yes. International director is showing a clapping sign. He's happy with the panel discussion. Any questions further? Yeah, they're all enjoying. So question 1, 2, 3. No questions, all are happy, and I see the message from International Director. It's a great discussion. Thank you, International Director, DTM Ali Shahbaz. So final, let me call the last round, the final message. Rafiq, DTM Rafiq Ahmad, for you, what is your strong take-home message to our contestants? 60 seconds, the message to our aspiring contestants.
Yeah, can I start off by saying this? The strong message is make sure DTM Mohammed Salim is not competing if you want to win. No, that's not the message. I'm just kidding. All right. Remember this, every year when you compete, you have an opportunity.
We can't hear you. Is it me? I'm not hearing you, or audience?
We can
All
hear.
right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear, yes.
Thank you, DTM Roshan. So I'll take the clock back, so I'll start all over again. All right, so I was saying every year, you as a contestant or us as contestants, we have an opportunity, and that opportunity is very simple. At the end of the contest, you can either be bitter or you can get better. I've spent years rather, I would say, being bitter. Every single time I failed in a contest, I lost in a contest. I'm not ashamed to agree this, but I got bitter. Bitter about the fact that I didn't win, bitter about the fact that the judges didn't choose me, bitter about the fact that people came back to me and say, you lost again? But then years later, when I started spending more energy and time on getting better, that's when I started seeing that, hey, it's all about, like DTM Nisha said, it's all about consistency. Because every single time you go and you don't make it, you're getting that much closer to your goal. We have examples right in front of us. It took years for Jock Elliott to win it. Well, 13 years. It took a long time for Lance Miller to win it. Several years again. Well, if they waited that long, you can too. That's my strong take-home message for you. Don't get bitter, but get better.
Thank you very much, DTM Rafiq Ahmed, for that 1 minute motivation for aspiring contestant. Now, let me move on to distinguished host Mohammed Salim. What is your take-home message in 60 seconds for our aspiring audience?
I think I need a little more time actually, but I'll try to finish the first thing is for aspiring speakers, find a mentor. Okay, it's not that you need to find a world champion for being a mentor. It could be anybody. There are online mentors, whereas you can choose a mentor who can give you time. That's the first thing actually. Number two is Koka Prasad. Actually, I remember back in 2012 when I asked him, are you contesting next year? He said, no, I haven't prepared the speech. That means start preparing your speech 1 year ahead. Don't wait for the contest date and then you start 1 week before. Never do that. 1 year you need to refine your speech. Number three is that you need to have a winning attitude. Learn something from Rafiq. Always have a winning attitude. Don't tell that, let me give a try. If not, let's have next time. There is never next time. Always have a winning attitude. Tell them, I am going to make it this year. Hammer it and tell them. Number four is that never go into a speech telling that with the win-win situation. I remember Aditya Maheshwari telling, I echo the words of again Rafiq actually, it should be 40 to 50% above, the fellow contestant. I remember 2013 when Rafiq was in Dubai, we were in Dubai. He was in a semi-final and I was in the semi-final. He came up to me and said, Salim bhai, there is two people like Lily Koka and Daniel. They are telling they will be going to the World Championship. I said, forget it, brother. I was in the other room where I saw Shuru Kalbanna actually, and she is going to make it even without watching these two speakers actually, because that is where the Shuru Kalbanna, she made an impact actually. I didn't watch the speech, but when I came out, I told Rafiq Shuruk is going for the finale. No matter what Koka did, what Daniel did, I don't know, but she is going for sure. So that is where you keep in high edge. You can't, have a win-win situation. So again, recap, find a mentor, start preparing your speech, have a winning attitude, give edge over other contestants. You need to prepare a speech which you think is much far better from the other contestants. With this, I wish all the contestants who are going to contest this year, hope to see champion from this audience. I wouldn't say District 20 because Rafiq would be contesting, others would be contesting. I want this audience, one champion emerging. Thank you very much, moderator, for giving me an opportunity. Over to you, Division.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So final 60 seconds take from our last panelist, distinguished Toastmaster Rupert Swinto. 60 seconds.
Thank you. Anyway, I think most of the points are covered. I have only one point to say to all the fellow contestants. It's not reaching the next level of the contest. It's where you have come from. You will be happy. Focus on your growth, not on getting the trophy. You will collect a lot of trophies like me, but your happiness lies in focusing on your goal, reaching the next level or a higher level. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With this, we conclude our panel discussion. It was an effort to bring global champions to share their experience and local champions to share their opinion and feedback for our aspiring contestants. Thank you very much once again. On behalf of Division I and also District 20, I thank each of these panel moderators for being here. We'd like to share your certificates now. This certificate goes to Distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Salim for being a part of this wonderful panel discussion. Thank you, sir. We are honored and we are happy to have you with us. Kindly accept this certificate. Thank you. Next certificate goes to Distinguished Toastmaster Rufus Pinto. Thank you, Distinguished Rufus Pinto, for being here. Kindly accept this certificate of appreciation for your time and your feedback for today's panel discussion. Thank you very much. The last certificate goes to our champion joining us from Saudi, distinguished host for Rafiq Ahmad. We are very thankful to you for your presence today, and this certificate is proudly awarded to you as a part of certificate of appreciation. Thank you very much. With that, we conclude this panel discussion with a lot of observation and learning. Back to you, Master of Ceremony.
Thank you, Division I Director, DTM Roshan Lewis, for conducting the panel discussion in a very professional manner. And now, let me invite a Toastmaster whose ambition and passion in technology has played an important role in her having a career in the telecom industry. At Zain Bahrain, she has personally trained more than 350 Bahraini youth in the telecom sector. She owes her courage and confidence to Toastmasters. I'm talking about Toastmaster Wala Jafar, the Director for Area 36 in Division I, and she will be proposing the vote of thanks. Over to you, Toastmaster Wala.
Thank you to the incredible Master of Ceremony, Toastmasters Maya Sharma. It was amazing night, full of experience. Does everyone agree? Yes. Dear Toastmasters and our most valued guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks. I, and on behalf of Division I, would like to extend a very hearty vote of thanks to everyone. A big thank you to our Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmasters Mona Iqab. I guess she is not available today. And I would like to mention our deep sense of appreciation to the world's champions, Toastmaster Angela Heath, Distinguished Toastmasters Nisha Shivram, and Distinguished Toastmasters Alexander Matter. Also, I would like to express our sincere thanks to the knowledgeable panelists, Distinguished Toastmasters Mohammed Salim, and Distinguished Toastmasters Rufus Pinto, and Distinguished Toastmasters Rafiq Ahmed. The panelist was a very creative idea, and it was headed by our leader, Distinguished Toastmasters Roshan Lewis. I would like to acknowledge the role players of today's meeting, Toastmasters Soshma, our Sergeant at Arms, Toastmasters, yes. Toastmasters Veronica, our timer, and the incredible Toastmasters Maya Sharma, our Master of Ceremony.
Thank you.
Well, fellow Toastmasters, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated who know their job. Let me thank our creative Toastmasters, Distinguished Toastmasters Raja for designing the flyer and running the BR activities. Do we have a certificate for him? Okay. Special thanks to our leader, Division I Director, Distinguished Toastmasters Roshan Lewis, and all the area directors and Division I Council. Thank you everyone for attending and have a great night.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wala, for proposing the vote of thanks. And now I hand back the control to our Division I Director, DTM Roshan. Over to you.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for graciously managing the event. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the vote of thanks, Area Director Toastmaster Wala Jafar. And I also thank District Director, DTM Khalid Abdullah, for his presence, and also the PQD, Distinguished Toastmaster Mona Lokab, and CGD, Distinguished Toastmaster Yasser Al-Kashar, and above all, our International Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Shahbaz Ali too. And now the house is open for any feedback for the guests, from the guests. Any feedback?
May I?
Yes, yes, Toastmaster Giri, you're joining from US. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a very insightful session. Every speaker was unique and gave very useful, different insights. Thank you so much for the invitation. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Toastmaster Elaine Long.
Thank you. It's morning in California here, and I was blown away. Fabulous, fabulous program. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Love the
Thank
panel.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Any other feedbacks? You can unmute and give your feedback. There is a feedback in chat box. Thank you very much. Wonderful session by our Sergeant at Toastmaster Sushma. And there are other people also. Toastmaster Pradeep Shetty given us feedback for appreciating the event. Anybody wants to share? Think inside the box and you can speak. Okay. If not, I would like to adjourn the meeting, and thank you very much for being here. After adjourning, let's switch on our video. Let's go for a photograph. Who are available, kindly switch on your video. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let me click the picture. And thank you all the guests who are joining from other divisions and other districts and other countries too. Now this is the right time. You can join any of our district online clubs because we are seeing you as our members regularly. Our clubs are open to join. Some online clubs are here. You can always be a part of this wonderful district. Thank you very much. So shall we adjourn the meeting? Yes. Thank you very much. So with this, I conclude the meeting, and it was a pleasure having you, all of you here, all the Middle East people, happy week ahead, and Indians, happy weekend tomorrow. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. DTM Raja, you can
Thank
stop
you.
the
Well
recording.
done. Well done.
Thank you.
DIG.
Thank you, CGT. Thank you. Thank you, CGT. Thank you very much. DTM Raja, can you stop the recording?